Be a guy that's willing to take criticism. Trust me, if you play in the NFL, I got criticized constantly.
Welcome to the Sports to Business podcast. Today we have Bart Oates, a legend, three-time NFL Super Bowl champion, multiple Pro Bowl appearances, a BYU All-Star, an attorney, and right now, president of the NFL Alumni Association. This is what it's all about. So I'm so happy to have you on the podcast, Bart.
Happy to be on, Tanvir.
Awesome. So what are you doing these days?
So as you said, I'm president of the NFL Alumni Association. I've been in that role for about 3 years now. We're an organization of former NFL players. We have 37 chapters and thousands of former players and members. And we also have others. We have professional members. We have an associate membership, for instance, that anybody that wants to support our missions of caring for our own and caring for kids. We encourage everyone to be involved. We have a business and enterprise membership category, and so we're very inclusive and say let's make a difference in our communities. And so it's been fun. I practiced law for about 20 years prior to this, and with this was I just a point in my life where this kind of worked out, and just something that's very very fun.
So, it's not often that you see a lot of somebody, first of all, did an NFL, who won a Super Bowl, then became a lawyer. So how did it all start back in the college days?
One day at a time.
Wow.
You take it one day at a time. You go to college. I knew that college was my way, at least a scholarship was my way to get an education. So I was first and foremost. I never anticipated playing professional football, quite frankly. It was kind of a dream, but the reality was I didn't think I would. If I did, I didn't think I would play a long time. But so I went to school. I took courses. I had accounting, got an accounting degree, and then afterwards, and I realized I was going to start playing football. I'm like, no, I got a good off season. Let me go to law school. So that's what I did. Just one day at a time.
So you actually went to class. You didn't just go to practice, and that's it. You actually went to class, worked on your grades back then.
Well, yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, listen, there was back then. One is football was good, but it wasn't great, and it wasn't like today. It's generational money today. A guy gets $20 million a season and $15 million. I mean, a few do. The vast majority. I'm an NFL alumni president, and I tell you is that the vast majority of the guys, 95, 96, 7-8% don't make that kind of money, and they're the guys that need that continuation. They need an education. They're going to need to use what they've learned in school and the experience they've had, and leverage the relationships that they've created to make a successful life for themselves.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I think oftentimes you see as the media, right? It's like, hey, somebody signed a 3-year, $20 million deal. Somebody signed the highest $30 million deal. Even all the sports leagues, right? I think you bring up a great point. Not a lot of people understand that 98% of the actual players don't make that kind of money.
Exactly. Yeah. Maybe 1 or 2 out of 100 might. Matter of fact, most of the guys signed NFL contracts don't even get vested, play less than 2 years. The majority of the guys. And so they're the guys that, they're still in their mid-20s and they're out of football. And yet that's been their dedicated source of their existence. For many of them, there are more and more guys that say, listen, I can use this college experience to help leverage become, to make my post-playing career even more successful.
Well, you said like a word, relationships, right? So you're like, manage the right relationships when you're younger. You take a step at a time. What is it like? So when you were in university, were you actively looking at networking? So how do you kind of think about those things back then?
I didn't, but I should have. I kind of learned after the fact, and what I tell everybody, particularly these guys that come into, listen, you're a collegiate athletes. If you've made it to the NFL, you means you were a very good collegiate football player, and you were a guy that people cheered for. So take that in your community, in that community you lived in. There's business people. Learn from them. Take on Go ask somebody to be a mentor. Find out what you want to do, and help that and then find somebody in that community that wants to support the college football program, and they'll be happy to be your mentor. And so,
Yeah.
and a lot of the colleges are doing that, and I think more and more will do that.
Yeah. I think like, even like when I played football in university, I think the gap that we all saw was first in your first 2 or 3 years, you're always focused on, I'm going to make it to the big leagues, and Canada's a CFL. And then the fourth year, you realize that, well, 95% of us are not going to make it. And even the 5% that do, probably are not going to stick around more than 2 years. At that point, it's a little too late to start thinking about the other backup plans, right? So I think you bring up a great point.
Well, I would say it's too late. I'm saying it's best to do it early, but you
Earlier.
can still do it later. Listen, I mean, because if you don't, you have to do something. You're going to wind up transition. Your transition will be more difficult if you don't. Let's put it that way. It's not that you can't make it. One way or another, you're going to transition out of football. Listen, I played 14 years, 3 Super Bowls, 5 Pro Bowls. I had just this career that was just way more than what I ever thought. I had to transition out of the game. And every Hall of Famers have to transition out of the game. It happens to everybody.
So how did your football, I guess, principles, right? So in university, NFL, teamwork, commitment, dedication, how did that translate into, let's say, when you're working in the off season on a law degree, which is a lot of work while playing pro football? What were some of those things that you brought over with you?
I think it's just, for me, I'm a plotter. I wasn't a great athlete. I played offensive line, so mine was just show up and do what you're supposed to do every day. That's it. It's really that simple. That was my formula. It's nothing earth shattering. It's not something that requires a great degree of intelligence. Just show up and do and give it your best every day. And if you don't give it the best one day, come back the next day and give it your best. And funny thing is, if you do that long enough, you actually get pretty good.
Yeah, it's funny. When I started this podcast, I think it's like 15th episode now that we're recording. And the same consistent theme that I'm getting from every single pro athlete executive is show up and just consistently put in the work. It's simple.
Show up and effort. It really is. It is that simple. And then now listen, the key is making sure you love what you do.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because if you love what you do, you're going to be motivated to show up. You're going to be motivated to put in the effort. Okay? Find something you love to do. And like they say, you find something early that you love to do and you'll never have to work.
I guess the question is how, especially in today's day and age, there's a lot of distractions for younger leaders in their 20s who are trying to become either athletes or, let's say, figure out what they want to do in life. How do you perhaps look at it today versus back then? And how do you now advise someone to find something they do love? Is it trial and error? Is it trying different things, hopping around? What would that advice be?
It is. It's the same thing with when you're, for college football players, you want to find a mentor. You just try a few things. You just have experiences. It's going out and being exposed to more and more activities and more infrastructures, more careers, industries, so that you really can make a good decision. You may make a decision that I practice law, but I'm, now that in this stage of my life, I'm in a not-for-profit. I think the other big key is be balanced. You really have a balance in your life. Make sure that what you do, that you're balanced, that it's physically, you're socially, mentally, spiritually. Those are things that are important in everybody's life. And if you happen to take, overcompensate or focus on one area too greatly and minimize another area, then, that's where this, this imbalance occurs.
How do you find the balance? This is a great topic. How do you find the balance between working super hard, that you're consistent to make something happen, versus knowing that, this is time to stop and take a break, recharge, rest?
Priorities. You have to have priorities. I mean, listen, it's faith, family, and then, what comes after that. And so those are if you have those as priorities and you're able to really stick to those priorities, then I think you'll be able to find that balance.
I think it's as simple as that, right? Like it's always, I find it astonishing that like when I look at like, okay, what I have to do, my priorities, I started making these charts and go across all these different patterns and scenarios. But when I speak to someone who's been there, done that, it's like step one, step two, step three. Everything comes back to the simple framework, such as what you just mentioned.
Listen, it's hard. In today's world, people want they want fame and fortune, right? And those are them. And if that's your priority, then what I can tell you is you're never going to be happy. Happiness will never happen. Because that's not a priority that's going to bring any lasting joy. It's something that you can never have enough money. You can never have enough, enough fame. If that's your priority. Now, there are people that are famous and rich who are very happy because that's not their priority. And so find something that's a priority that's going to add value. That's going to give you a sense right in here, in your heart, like it's going to create this satisfaction. And feed whatever that, and feed the hunger, if you will.
One thing that I always struggled with when I was younger, it was, do you look at the results or do you look at the process? $1 million richer, I want to make $10 million versus here are the actions you should be doing every single day, which is consistently showing up. Which one do you focus on?
Take the action.
Yeah. As long as you know that the action and you believe and have faith will get you to the outcome.
Absolutely.
Awesome. I would love to dive into your NFL career, Bart. So 3 Super Bowls. What was that like? And if you have your rings, I would love to show everyone what a Super Bowl ring looks like. There you go.
This is oops. Well, not showing up. Hard to show the back.
You're good.
So those are 2 Giants rings. Picture behind me is actually a Giants picture with the quarterback being Jeff Hostetler in Super Bowl 25, 1990. Listen, I was very blessed. I was not this great athlete. I got put into I went to the Giants in 1985. We won the Super Bowl in '86, and I was I became the center, and it was. I had some just great teammates that, even to this day, we're very, very good friends. And we have this relationship that's, it can't be, it's hard to describe because we've gone through these tremendous efforts and accomplished something that very, very few people get to do. And so, to me, it's as much about, working together with these guys. That's where there's so much more enjoyment, I think, and satisfaction knowing that we did it as a team. Individual stuff is great. Going to the Pro Bowl is great, but I'll trade every Pro Bowl for another ring. I mean, I'll trade 5 Pro Bowls for another ring any day.
Yeah. It's just funny because I was speaking to someone yesterday, on the podcast as well, and he brought up a great point where he said, find a team that has your back. That's the best environment that you want to be working in, whether it's business or sports. Yep. So would you say that is like the ultimate goal of anyone, whether in sports or if you're working in business, a startup, or you're working for a corporation? You want to go where you actually feel that you want to go and win? Is that it?
Yeah, you have a connection. You've got a mission. You've got this group that has this common goal, and everybody's dedicated. You're putting the team, you're putting the goal, the organization ahead of the individual, and that together, if you do that, if everybody does that, then everybody gets ahead even more so than you would on your own. And so it creates this atmosphere of excitement, this atmosphere of energy, this atmosphere that, together we can conquer we can do anything. We can overcome anything. It's not a blame game. It's like everybody take responsibility, accountability, but you're also going to help people when somebody's struggling. And so it's an environment that creates this, hey, we can do this together.
So my question for you is then, so what do you do? And I'm going to come back to the bigger point here. As a center, you never got the spotlight most of the time, but you had the hardest job, which
I did. When I messed up a snap or call for holding, I got a lot of attention.
Or when somebody blew by you and got your quarterback, right?
Exactly.
So
I could get attention whenever I wanted it.
If you wanted it, exactly. I guess for 99% of other times, How are you motivated? How do you keep yourself motivated? Is it just the common goal of the team?
Yeah. I mean, but it's personal satisfaction. It's pride. It's personal pride to say, I'm going to do as good as I can. I know that my right guard and my left guard, they're relying, and the quarterback, these guys right next to me
Wow.
are really relying on me every play. And then, the team is relying. So I've got, it's that there are people I don't want to fail them. I want to say, yeah, I want to be part of that cog that says, I am a strong piece of the puzzle. I'm not the weak link here.
Amazing. So what is your advice now to individuals or youngsters that are trying to enter the workforce or going into corporation, but instead they fall into the trap of just doing 40 hours a week and living for the weekend? How can you find this type of pride that you want to have for your teammates?
So listen, here's what there's so many different people. Everyone has a different journey. If somebody's happy with going and working a 40-hour job and putting their time in and doing as best they can, and they're truly happy, and that's what they want to do, I'm saying go for it. Do it. Just be the best you can. All right. It doesn't matter. You don't have to be CEO of a large company. You don't have to be an entrepreneur, the 40 under 40. You don't have to be successful, to be happy, because everybody has a different journey. We're made differently. Our DNA is different. We just have different incentives. And so find what those are. Find what's going to make you happy. Be balanced, and then be the best you can.
That's well said. I think that's, again, it comes back to, as I said before, like, you are able to put things in such a simple manner. It's amazing.
Simple. We're offensive linemen. We're pretty simple.
Simple. It's block and tackle.
In front of you.
Awesome. So Bart, I'm sure you messed up a lot. As you say, you got the spotlight sometimes. You failed, right? How do you deal with that? How do you deal with failure?
Come back the next play and then do it right. So learn from it. Learn from failure. Learn from mistakes. Learn from difficult circumstances, from failures, whether your own fault or somebody else's fault. It doesn't matter. They're all opportunities to grow and to learn and to be better, right? And this is with every area of your life, not just professionally, but your socially, your family, your faith. It's in every area. Just learn from those things. Don't let them define you. Let them educate you.
I think that's the key difference. Is a lot of people start thinking that if they fail, that is a reflection, or that is what they are.
Success is trying one more time than you failed. That's all success is.
Yeah, and if you hadn't failed that many times, you wouldn't be successful.
If you try one more time than you fail, you'll be successful.
Wow. So if somebody is failing today, let's say sports one play, you come by the next play, somebody starts a business, somebody takes a job, huge project, and they fail at a much, let's say, a longer term from a time span standpoint. How can they come back when sometimes they might have a lot of eyes, a lot of pressure from external entities, for example?
Okay, so under the scenario, this enterprise has failed. This effort has failed. You got to pivot one way or the other, right? I mean, now you control how you respond to that failure. Nobody forces you to be depressed. Nobody forces you to ignore it. Nobody forces you to just completely, go into a shell. That's a choice you make. Then there's other people on the other hand, well, they refuse to quit. That's a choice they make. And so there's one thing you control in this life. It's not what happens around you. It's what happens here and how you feel here. That's the only thing in this life you truly control. And so if you can master those things, everything else will make a lot more sense and be much easier.
So it doesn't matter what else happens, as long as you can control and your response in a positive manner.
Your response, right? That's the only thing you really control in this life.
Yeah, and your action and response. Outcome you can't control. What happens to you can't control. That's powerful. What do you do personally? And this might go back to your college years or even your NFL. What are some really tactical things that you've carried with yourself that allows you to do this and become so strong at these things?
short memory, um, not holding grudges.
Mm-hmm.
That, I just, if somebody's, I can't remember, if somebody like, did that guy, was that like a bad experience? I'm like, I'm going to move forward. I'm not going to let the past define me. It's just this constant, like, look forward, have your feet pointed in the right direction, the direction you want to go. You may take 2 steps back and only 1 step forward, right? You may actually lose ground, but as long as your feet are pointing the right way, as long as you maintain that vision, okay, and that willpower, that you're not going to let defeat or failure define you. You just keep moving forward, and as long as you do that in a manner that is honorable, okay. I mean that you're treating people the right way, you're doing the right things, you're honest, right? You're trustworthy. Those are attributes that define who you are. Right. And above all things, your reputation is the most important thing anybody can have. And that's what you build because of what you do, not because of what happened to you.
Well, what do you have to say to folks who perhaps they get success and they don't treat people as nice? Have you seen in your experience, and you're a big believer in, you have to be doing the right things the right way, because at the end of the day, they're going to benefit you, versus being a jackass to people just because you've achieved success?
A lot of really nasty people are successful. So that's not going to make you successful. But it's, at the end of the day, it's, again, going back to this balance of who you are and your faith and being able to treat people and the golden rule. And those things are important. I mean, those things they are to me. I can, I'm not going to judge anybody else. I'm saying, to me, that's important. And that's what, one of my desires is to not only be successful, but to see people around me be successful, to help other people be successful. I get a bigger kick out of that than probably my own success.
Well, I got a question for you about some of your NFL years. What was it about the team? And I'd love to understand this for myself as well. What was it about the teams that won the Super Bowl versus the teams that maybe made it far but didn't end up really winning it? Was there a difference? Did you notice something? Did you feel it?
And again, simplicity. It's the teams that win, they score more points.
Wow.
No, that was a joke.
I know.
You're like, I can see it. Okay, that sounds very poignant. Listen, football is, everybody tries, and you're at the level of the NFL. That's a tip of the spear, and so they're the best of the best, and so it's just making plays or not making mistakes, and that's really the kind of, it's any one given game. Sometimes it really is about how the ball bounces, and so you don't have necessarily that control that you do in the business world, per se, you call it, or in your relationships with others, where you can define those, and they can be you can determine the outcomes much easier.
So hard work, a bit of luck, I guess. That's what it comes down to it.
Yeah. Listen, at the end of the day, is you do the best you can, and and I'll tell all the younger guys I meet, and I go, just do the best you can, and then you can just be satisfied with what you've been blessed with your talents. You've done the most you can with them. And at the end of the day, you look back and says, you know what? I had a great experience, and I was able to do what I was supposed to be able to do, what my potential allowed me to do.
If you give it your best.
And that is success.
So is that the one thing that you would say, if you can bring something over from football into business that will allow you to succeed or give yourself a higher chance of winning, would it be that just bring in the dedication and the consistency to just outwork everybody else?
One day at a time. Just do your best every day. Show up to practice. Listen, the most in football, everybody would love to be on the football field and playing the games. But tell you, off-season training, summer camp, practice, when nobody sees that effort, nobody sees the pain, the anguish, the time, and the suffering, you pay the price. And that puts you where, that picture behind me, it allows you to be in that position and on a February 7th of a Super Bowl in Tampa, Florida in 1991, I think. Yeah, 1991. To be in a position to beat the Buffalo Bills to be Super Bowl champions.
Wow. Yeah, it's like, I think exactly what you said. It's just keep it simple and work hard,
Yeah.
and show up. So like, what do you? So this last question.
Let me
Go
just
ahead.
a story and an anecdote here. The
Please.
guy behind me, right? This guy right here,
15.
Jeff Hostetler, the quarterback. So he backed up Phil Simms for 9 years. He was a backup and great athlete, wanted to get on the field. For 9 years, he backed him up. He was on special teams. He was a third team quarterback. Then he was a second backup. And then Phil Simms gets hurt late in the season 1990. We had a good team. He comes in, gets a chance, winds up winning a couple of games, the last couple of games of the regular season. We go into the playoffs, win our first 2 games, go to the Super Bowl. We're double-digit underdogs to the Buffalo Bills. Wind up beating them 20-19. Here's a guy that just perseverance. He showed up to work every day. Did he have times of like, hey, I'm pissed off, I'm disappointed. But it made him try harder. It made him give him more resolve. And ultimately, he gets his chance. He becomes this Super Bowl winning quarterback. There aren't many of them, and he's one of them.
Wow. I mean, it doesn't get any simpler than that, right? Like a lot of people that I work with or my friends or colleagues, is like, you try for 6 months or a year and a half, you don't get promoted, and they get bitter about it and you call it quits, or you start seeing it in their demeanor. Yeah. This is an NFL player for 9 years, never got a chance, comes in and he's ready to go because he's been practicing for those 9 years for the chance.
Showed up every day.
That's it. Wow. Awesome. So the end of our time, Bart. So glad to have had you for these 30 minutes. Any last message for younger generation today trying to navigate these disruptive times?
Listen, disruptive. We're in an age of information, over-information. For the younger guy, don't get so caught up in our social media and things that are very, very superficial. Really look for the attributes that are lasting, things, the relationships that are going to bring some satisfaction and happiness. Don't care about what others say. I mean, it doesn't matter. Really listen to your heart first and foremost. Do listen to mentors. Try to be coachable. Be a guy that's willing to take criticism. Trust me, if you play in the NFL, I got criticized constantly.
Absolutely, yeah.
But take criticism. Be coachable. Be somebody that's willing to change. In our environment, you have to be willing to pivot and change. And be proficient at your career. And I think if you do that and have those relationships and have balance, you're going to be successful and live a happy life.
Amazing.
And maybe even more important, make a difference. Make a difference. Make a difference in communities. Make a difference with the people around you. That can be done in so many different ways. You don't have to be rich and famous to do it.
Wow.
Nothing to do about whether anybody even knows about it, but make a difference.
Make a difference. Wow. That's awesome. I have goosebumps right now. So thank you, Bart. And thanks to Zach for introducing us. This is totally worth it.
Cool.
Bart Oates, 3-time Super Bowl winner, NFL Alumni Association president right now. Thanks for hopping on, Bart. All the best.
Hey, what's the football behind you, Tanvir?
That is my college football. So we actually won the championship too, and I'll show off a little bit. We won Canada's national championship called the Vanier Cup.
Oh, that's cool. Awesome. All right.
So, but I was the 95% that didn't go to the next level. So that's all I have.
and I'll look at it.
Awesome.
Famous. Awesome. Thanks, Tanvir. My
Thanks
pleasure.
a lot, Bart. Appreciate it.
Take care.
Team, remember to like, subscribe, and share with a friend. And visit tanvirvangu.com for a ton of free content and exercises.